the containers that have been found by national security during a raid, 20-foot containers, 12 of them in total, and all of them have fake currencies and also what's suspected to be gold bars. Well, let's go over the phone lines and have a conversation with Richard Commando, who is a security consultant. Good morning to you, and I hope you're well.
Thank you. I'm good and great.
I know because of your connections within the intelligence space, you are always sniffing.
For me this morning.
You are also sniffing for information around, and I'm sure you have some information.
No, I've been to the crime scene actually.
Okay, give us an idea what we are talking about here.
Okay, so there are about 4 things involved. For some time now, Ghana has become a transit point, a destination and origin for organized crime and cross-border crimes. So that is one. Number two, it could be that because government has just transferred power from one to another, they want to pass through this one before government settles. Then number three, it could be that this is a continuous process that security officers have monitored it for a very long time, and they felt this is the time to strike. What they are not telling us, or the media that broke the story, is that whether this team they put together, they call it national security. It's not the national security of old where you have langars and everybody creates problems. This one, the agency gave out officers. So various agencies within the national security space gave out officers. And they came together under one big umbrella. And that is why they are calling it national security. What they are not telling us by the journalists who broke the news is that when they picked the package from Harbour, they inspected them. And when they got to the warehouse, they did a reconciliation and they realized that 4 packages were missing. Or when they got to the warehouse, they give them a waybill or some kind of an invoice, and they realized that there were additional 4 packages that were supposed to be here that they were not there. So it is all part of the chase they have to do, and the particular officers who are the concernees for this particular crime. But then again, it's a cross-border crime, and it's high-level, well-sophisticated, organized crime we are dealing with.
Very interesting. It seems you are telling a story and not telling a story at the same time. Are you suggesting that this all started with 4 missing packages?
Yeah, because that's the story coming from the operations, and that's what the media has reported.
And so this went through our border, our ports.
Yeah, because Ghana has become a transit for organized crime and money laundering and drugs and arms and many of those things. And Ghana has also become a destination, and it has become an origin. So this particular one could be coming to a destination, which is Ghana, or is passing through Ghana as a transit point. And to the extent that our ports of entry, being it the harbor or the airport, they can have people well organized, well detailed, pass through the processes, pay people, and have a package system that delivers the goods. They are okay to go. And it could also happen that there's something we call crime in absentia. The rare criminals, the kingpins, might not be in Ghana. And it is the duty of the BNI and the police officers who are involved in this particular operation to get to the field and make sure that these guys are brought to book in relation to our international connections and platforms available to crime prevention.
But what for somebody who's done some intelligence, what are the main issues that arise for you in this? Because you're talking about something coming through our port particularly.
Okay, so the main issues is that Ghana has been ranked as a high-risk destination because we have become origin for criminal activities, not just origin, but transit. So some drugs will come from Europe, pass through here, and go to the South America or the North America, and vice versa. And we do not just become origin or transit, but we have also become a destination. And that is why the use of drugs, and that is why money laundering and terrorist financing activities could be ripe in Ghana as a transit or a destination. And for us, in the security intelligence community, because this one has been bastardized, irrespective of whichever manner it takes or it took, and with the lingering questions not being answered as of today, it will help our ratings to come down, that we are doing something about our borders and points of entry, that we are building capacity, and we have the ability to bastardize well-organized crimes and money laundering activities and cross-border crime. That is one. Number two, it means that as a nation, as we settle down with a new government, our relationship with our neighboring is good, so that we could have a dialogue and they could share intelligence with us on timely basis, which includes cross-border crime and organized crime such as the one we are talking about.
You talk about lingering questions in terms of this bust. What are the questions for you that need to be answered by those
Number
involved?
one, whether the officers who did the operation were at the port when the consignments were being taken and they did an inventory. And at what point did they realize that there were 4 packages missing? And have they found the true identities of the people behind? If the media had people within the BNI, the police, and national security for that matter, the media would have picked the story that this consignment came from this particular place. This is the name of the consignee. This is what has happened. These are the stages we are. Unless national security specifically stressed, don't put up these details yet. Other than that, the story would have reported a bit more clearer to the general public to appreciate the work of the officers involved. But the way it is now is more about breaking the story and the sensationalization of it.
You talk about this is part of, because I get a sense that you're saying that this is part of a bigger problem that Ghana currently confronts. You're talking about us being a transit point, a destination, or origin of organized crime. How should they handle this in a way that assures perhaps those who have marked us as a risk when it comes to organized crime that we are trying to deal with the problem?
One, they will need to do a detailed job. Number two, they will need to profile objects of interest and personalities of investigation interest. And number three, as a nation, we should be encouraged and be bold enough to prosecute people who flout our laws and breaches and create security breaches for us, because we are talking about the aftermath of the underlying effects of money laundering. One of them is funding the economy underground. Then number two, it could also lead to terrorist financing. And number three, it could lead to an overthrow of government. And number four, your international ratings in terms of safety, in terms of security, in terms of risk, in terms of intelligence could be affected. And once that is affected, it affects your foreign direct investment, interferes your tourism sector, and it affects the way you do business in the international market. Because those are all parts of the risk outlook people look at before they deal with you as a nation.
And let me conclude by asking you, you said you've been to the scene of the crime, right?
Yes.
What observations have you made? Is this a place that is secluded? How's the place?
No, if you look at the narration, and they are talking about the total number of containers involved, one of the things we are also not talking about is what is contained in each of the containers, and why that particular warehouse, or why that particular location. Is it the first time it's being used for this particular operation, or it has been used for some other things before, and this one is one of those one-off transactions? And who are the owners of the warehouse? Who built it? What was it built for? How much did it cost in building it? What is the business and the nature of business of the person who owned the warehouse? And those are some of the questions we in the security intelligence community will ask. But having been to the place and having spoken to a number of people within, on one hand, we clap for the officers who did the job, and the other hand, we are saying that they've done well, but they should speed it up and speak to the general public so that it goes out to make a complete package. And when the docket is compiled for people who flout the laws and break our point of entry, we should be bold enough to go for punishment.
An interesting thing is that typically when you go to a community, you have interactions with the people. They usually have an idea who owns a particular house or a warehouse. Do the people seem to know?
Definitely, that they will give it to the BNI people in particular. Because remember, the BNI have offices and officers all over the country. And those actual details will be given to them. It could also be that the one who gave the tip-off might be part of the consignment abroad, or it could be that it could be one of the people who received the consignment here, and that person could be an informant of the police or the BNI. whether at a low level or at a higher level asset, for which the BNI or the police maintain. And those details will be given to them. And those will be some of the details they will put up to the team that the National Security Coordinator might have set up for this particular operation.
And let me conclude then by asking you, which institution is rightly placed to investigate this? I've heard you mention
the BNI wouldn't take the shine. Even if we do it, we will give it to the police. So this is a financial crime. The police have a financial crime unit. The ones that borders on the port, the port basically is for customs. So customs comes in. Immigration has a role to play. Then the military has a role to play. Then overall, the National Security Coordinator, who coordinates the activities of all the national security agencies at the Security Council, will have a briefing for the president.
But you have an economic and organized crimes office.
Yeah, definitely. So those ones that borders on Yoko will go to Yoko. The ones that borders on money laundering will go to the Financial Intelligence Center. And that is what it's supposed to be. But when it comes to the financial intelligence, when it comes to the movements on the ground, you can be sure that BNI will do their portion and hand it over to them. And we need to coordinate and we need to collaborate. The interagency collaborations and coming together to do a national assignment is something they need to enhance and forge it more, so that everybody comes to the job knowing exactly what to do. It brings speed, it brings quality, and it makes sure that they get the results within timeline.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
Mr. Richard Kumando is a security consultant, security and fraud consultant, having a conversation with us on what transpired.